The storm lashed against the penthouse windows, turning the night sky into a fractured mirror of purple and white. Ethan watched the display, his expression unreadable. Beside him, Leo shifted his weight, a low whistle escaping his lips. Dame, this view. You can see the lightning all the way to the horizon. From across the room, a woman's trembling voice cut through the rumble of thunder.
Ethan, I'm scared.
Ethan didn't turn. His gaze remained fixed on the chaotic skyline. Later, in the sterile quiet of the hospital room, that same woman would hover by his bedside, pleading for him not to die. Leo, having enjoyed a night in the absurd luxury of the penthouse, would be busy gathering his things, muttering about finding a new employer if things went south. The moment Ethan's eyes flicked open, sharp and clear despite the bandages, his voice was a low, gritted command. Get back here. Leo froze in the doorway. The memory of pulling a half-drowned man from a muddy drainage ditch 2 months ago felt like a lifetime away. The guy had been a mess, broken, bleeding, and claiming he remembered nothing but his name. Connor. To avoid a total loss on the rescue effort, Leo had put him to work at his auto shop. Free labor seemed a fair trade. The guy was quiet, a ghost in grease-stained coveralls who did what he was told and spent his breaks watching financial news. The only oddity was his inexplicable habit of pulling a blanket over Leo during the night, arguing about the temperature drop in the cramped apartment above the shop. Leo would yell, Connor would respond with infuriating calm, and the nightly stalemate would repeat. Then came the night everything changed. Cooling off under a cold shower, Leo spotted shadows moving in the alley. Figures armed with pipes and bats, heading straight for his door. Panic propelled him. He stumbled into the main room, phone in hand, just as Connor clamped a hand over his mouth. A low voice instructed him to be silent and climb out the window. In the frantic scramble that followed, Leo witnessed a side of Connor he'd never imagined. The man moved with a lethal, precise grace, disarming one attacker before following Leo out into the night. He led them through a maze of backstreets with an intimate knowledge Leo, a lifelong resident, didn't possess, finally pulling them into the back entrance of an upscale downtown lounge. A man in a tailored suit looked up from a desk, shock etching his features. Your stepmother found you, he stated, not asked. Connor merely nodded toward the window. They're here. As the suit hurried downstairs, Leo, breathing hard and clad only in boxers and a tank top, grabbed a glass from the desk and drained it. He glared at the man he'd saved. You were faking it. You've screwed me over. This is going to cost you. Triple. Connor, who was scanning the room, went still. He turned slowly. You drank that? The question hung in the air. Then the heat hit Leo, a wildfire spreading under his skin, his breath coming in short, ragged gasps. The room blurred. He stumbled, and Connor was there, an arm catching him. A strange, cool sensation radiated from Connor's skin, a relief so profound Leo leaned into it, his thoughts turning to syrup. He mumbled something about Connor smelling good, like expensive soap. A grunted order to shut up was the only reply. The next thing he knew, a shock of icy water from a showerhead was crashing over him, dragging him back from the edge of unconsciousness. He came to, sputtering and furious, in a tiled shower stall. Connor sat on the floor nearby, meticulously drying his hands with a cloth, his own clothes soaked. The composed facade was back. You lied, Leo accused, water dripping from his hair. I can't go home now. Connor pointed out that the immediate threat was handled. Leo scoffed, arguing that he was now permanently marked as an associate. Connor observed that he wasn't as foolish as he looked. Leo was ready to swing a punch when Connor offered a job. Bodyguard. Leo's fist hesitated in midair. The offer of a salary, a generous one, plus room and board, made his anger evaporate. He found himself smoothing Connor's wrinkled collar, his voice thick with sudden devotion. You're a saint, man. Absolute saint. Connor stood, adjusting his cuffs with a detached air. Maintain some dignity. The world Leo was dragged into was one of sleek cars and sharper betrayals. The man from the lounge, Silas, was an ally of convenience, banking on Connor's eventual victory for his own gain. A woman named Isabel, all curves and calculated smiles, was part of the package. During a desperate, rain-lashed car chase that ended in a screeching collision against a concrete barrier, Leo saw death up close. A shard of glass meant for him was embedded in Connor's forearm. As their pursuers closed in, Connor told him and Silas to run, his logic cold and practical. He was the target. They were not. Looking at Connor then, bleeding and calm, Leo thought of the broken man in the ditch. The book, the strange, waking dream memory of a novel he'd somehow known, had spoken of a hero's trials in abstract terms. It never mentioned the specific weight of a body shielding another, or the quiet resignation in a man expecting to be abandoned. A surge of reckless anger took over. Leo shoved Connor aside, grabbed the wheel, and stamped on the accelerator, sending the damaged car lurching forward in a suicidal charge. The wall of vehicles parted at the last second. They escaped. In the aftermath, in the safe, sterile hospital room, Leo tried to voice his exit strategy. He wasn't cut out for this world of millions and murder. He was a guy who fixed cars and wanted a quiet life. Connor listened, then spoke of his mother. He described finding her, years ago, collapsed on the floor of their home after his father had brought his mistress to the house. He spoke of a birthday cake the day before, and his mother's advice to hold tight to people you care for. He explained the inheritance, the reason he'd been left for dead in a ditch. His apology for the deception was quiet. Being at the auto shop, he admitted, had felt something like peace. Leo's resolve crumbled. He stayed. Weeks passed. Isabel's attentive care of Connor in the hospital grated on Leo. When Connor noticed him watching and asked if he liked that type, Leo shrugged it off. Later, Isabel cornered him in the hall, tears in her eyes, spinning a tale of a desperate life and pleading for an escape plan. She saw them both as pawns, she insisted, destined to be sacrificed in a game they never chose. Leo was still processing her proposal when the hospital alarms blared. Smoke filled the hallways. Isabel grabbed his arm, urging him to flee with her in the chaos. From the stairwell, Connor's half-brother, Marcus, appeared with hired muscle, blocking their way. He offered a cruel deal: kneel and swear loyalty. Leo reacted on instinct, tackling Marcus. A fight erupted. Pinned and helpless, watching a knife descend toward him, Leo's final furious thought was of Connor's broken promise of safety. The blow never landed. A stiletto heel, wielded with terrifying force, struck Marcus's temple from behind. Isabel stood there, breathless, the weapon in her hand. She pulled Leo toward the stairs, but he pushed her toward freedom instead. Go, he told her, giving directions to his meager savings hidden at the shop. Take your family and don't look back. He turned and ran back into the smoke, toward Connor's room. He was cornered again in a hallway when the rescue came, Isabel now holding a metal pipe taken from an unconscious guard, fighting with a fluid, professional brutality that shattered the illusion of the helpless secretary. Together, they burst into the room where Connor, in his hospital gown, stood facing his stepmother, Eleanor. Silas was slumped against a wall. Eleanor was demanding the combination to a security vault, her patience gone, her goons moving in. The window behind them exploded inward. Leo, secured by a harness, swung through, grabbing Connor and rolling them both across the broken glass. I'm charging extra for this, Leo yelled, holding up a hand speckled with glass. Hazard pay. Connor stared at him, a tremor in his voice. You came back. Of course I came back, you idiot. Leo snapped, though the anger was a thin veil. You had this whole counter-ambush set up. Isabel's some kind of secret agent. Was I the only one actually worried? Connor's grip on his wrist tightened.
I'm sorry.
I wanted to keep you out of the line of fire. I know, Leo grumbled, looking away. It was pretty obvious once she started talking about escape routes. He met Connor's eyes again. I thought you'd be okay if I left. You're you. But then I thought, hell, I found him. He's my responsibility. Connor pulled him into a tight embrace, his voice muffled against Leo's shoulder. I thought you'd leave. I prepared for it. If you had walked away tonight, I would have let you go. For good. Leo's heart hammered against his ribs. Yeah, well, you still owe me for this month. Don't think you're getting out of it. A soft laugh shook Connor's frame. You'll get it. You can have anything. The aftermath was a blur of legal proceedings. Eleanor and Marcus faced a cascade of charges. Silas, embroiled in his own familial power struggle, disappeared into a whirlwind of corporate maneuvering. Isabel, it turned out, had been Silas's reluctant fiancée. Her escape had been mutually arranged after she'd convinced him with a uniquely persuasive argument involving a kitchen knife and a pair of stilettos. She was now, according to tabloid rumors, pursuing an acting career. Now, Leo stood fidgeting as Connor adjusted his tie in the mirror of a lavish suite. I still don't get it, Leo complained. Don't you usually bring a date to these charity galas? What am I, decor? Connor finished with the tie, his hands coming to rest on Leo's shoulders. He met his gaze in the reflection, a genuine, unguarded smile touching his lips. Consider it a personal preference, an acquired taste. He turned Leo to face him. The noise of the city, the ghosts of the past, the shadow of the storybook plot, all of it faded into a distant hum. Here, in this quiet moment before the performance of the evening began, there was only the solid, undeniable reality of the man in front of him and the unlikely chosen path that had led them both here.